All right, everyone, welcome back to another episode here of BassAndFurious TV. I want to thank you guys for tuning in. I do appreciate it. I do hope that you guys are enjoying the new series that I just rolled out. This is kind of a collab series with several different creators that's bolster all of our fishing knowledge by sharing some tips and tricks. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the last series. I had Tommy Tackle on here, 540 Fishing, sharing some great baits. If you haven't seen that one, I'll leave a link to it here in the video somewhere, so you guys can go back and take a look at that video. But for today's video, I got another great friend of mine. He's going to share some tips with you. He fishes in a very different place than me and Tommy and all of us. He fishes in a whole other state, but he does travel and fish as well. So he's got a lot of experience fishing the rivers, fishing the lakes, all that. But today's video in particular, we're going to focus on some river fishing. Basically some finesse tips for river fishing. And that's a big thing, guys, because a lot of times when you're fishing these rivers, yes, everyone loves to power fish, you know, the river, dirty water, tide, you know, all these type of factors come into play. And while all that is great, there are many times where you have to just finesse fish to get these bites. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that the pressure, there's always a tournament on the river. If there's a good river and the fish are biting, there's always a tournament on that river. Weeknight tournament, weekend tournament, major trail tournament, they're always coming to the river. The other thing is you're dealing with grass fishing. A lot of times you deal with grass fishing, you're going to run into different obstacles when it comes to the grass fishing. Things that can work, things that may not work, things that always work. There's a lot of things like that. There's a lot of variables when it comes to fishing the river, but there are some consistency, some constants. If you do pull up, you have certain things tied on. A lot of times you are going to get the bites. A lot of times it comes down to just figuring out what the fish want that day. They may want the bait that you've always had success on, but they may want it done a little differently. So that's kind of what I'm going to talk about today, is some finesse fishing tips for the river fishing. So for me in particular, I fish the Potomac River, James River, a lot of things like that. One of the main things that I will tell you guys is right off the bat for finesse fishing is going to be finesse fishing, but a lot of times it's still like power finesse fishing. Okay, so when I say finesse fishing, I'm not talking like 6-pound line and 100-foot leader because you're trying to hide from the fish in some super deep clear water. I'm talking river fish, and I'm talking usually you're 3 to 5, 7, 9 feet, and you're finesse fishing. The technique you're using is a finesse style, but the reality is you got to remember that you're still trying, a lot of times you're trying to pull these fish out of grass, and you're trying to pull these fish from around wood. So finesse in this instance is going to be a relative kind of term, because yes, we are finesse fishing, but don't throw your 6-pound line in a big old grass bed and hope to get the fish back. You can do it. I've seen plenty of guys do it. I've done it myself plenty of times. If it comes down to it, I will throw my 6-pound line. I'll figure out how to get them out at some point. I use my trolling motor. I'll use my paddle. I get closer. Like, I will get the fish out of there if I have to go down that size to actually start getting bites, if I'm not getting bites on anything else I'm using. But a lot of times when it comes to river fishing, I may be throwing a spinning rod setup, but I'll usually have no less than 8-pound line. Most of the time it's 10. A lot of the times it's 12-pound line. So that's one right off the bat. If I'm throwing a spinning pole on a river, James River, Potomac River, any of these places, Rappahannock River, I may have a finesse setup tied on, but I'm typically throwing 10-pound, 12-pound line. I know some guys that probably go even heavier than that. For me, I feel 12 is pretty tough and usually can get me out of most jams I'm in. 6 has gotten my feelings hurt several times. 8 is close. 10 is a pretty consistent number, I feel like, on the river if you're throwing a spinning rod. So if you're throwing a lot of your major finesse techniques on the river that you use are a drop shot, use a shaky head, you use a wacky rig, a Senko, Nico rig, Senko, Texas rig, Senko, or stick bait, I should say. Those are a lot of things that you'll use. And there are some techniques within each of those that can increase your success rate. So if you're fishing a Nico rig, the weight of your nail in your Nico rig can play a role in whether or not you're going to get bites that day. Whether you dye the tail on both sides of the bait can determine whether you're going to get bites that day. Whether you add a rattle to the inside of your Senko on the back end because the water's really dirty. They still want a Senko. They don't want to eat a chatterbait. They still want something finessey, but it's hard to see it even though you're throwing black and blue. Maybe you throw a rattle or something in the back to try to get it. Or another trick that a lot of guys already know about, and guys, I won't say I'm not really sharing new. I am sharing some new stuff to some people, but and I'm kind of grouping it all in here. But adding like some sort of flash to your bait, right? To your Cinco, adding some sort of flash to it. If you're throwing a shaky head, whether you're throwing like a flat worm, a finesse style worm with a straight tail, or whether you're throwing something with a ribbon tail. All those little finesse techniques, all the ones, I literally just shared you guys some absolute gold in there. But a lot of those things are going to come in. They're going to play a role in whether or not you're going to be successful in the river fishing. Because guess what? Someone's going to get bit on the river. Someone's going to come back in with a bag. Someone's going to win the tournament. Why not be you?
Oh, say less.
Okay, that's the thing. Why not be you? As I take a brief second here from my shirt. Fish only eat what I'm throwing, guys. I'm telling you. And this is not just a shirt just for me, about me. This is a shirt that I made it for everyone, right?
In the heat of battle, he don't miss. No.
Fish only eat what you are throwing. But I felt like if I put that on a shirt, that'd be kind of weird to walk up to somebody and be like, hey, fish are only eating what you're throwing. Why are they not eating what? Okay, sorry, guys. Okay. But fish only eat what I'm throwing, guys. So what I'm throwing, I got to mix it up a little bit, especially when it comes to this river fishing finesse style techniques. Obviously, it goes without saying, if you go to the river, you tie on a chatterbait, you throw a chatterbait, 3 to 5 casts in, you're getting smacked on the chatterbait, guys. We don't need to talk about finesse. Maybe later in the day, if the bite changes, the tide changes, the position of the fish changes, then we need to talk about finesse. But if you get out there on the river and they're eating a spinnerbait, man, just throw the spinnerbait, right? We don't even need to dive into any of this. That's one thing about the river. If you find something they're biting on and you're keying on, you're getting multiple bites, you got to lock in at that point. That's just a matter of just either covering water or not moving the boat at all. Just going fan casting around where you're at, inch over, fan cast again, inch over, fan cast again until the bite completely dies. Then you might want to pick up and move areas if you're not getting a bite or 2 bites every like 30 to 45 minutes. If you're not doing that, then you got to move around. It is the river. They are biting somewhere. Maybe just not where you're at. Maybe the tide changed a little bit and there's a better tide farther upriver or a better tide farther downriver. You might want to run a little bit to catch that next window of the tide that you just had a good tide on. Go catch it in another area. Go to a good spot and see if you can get bit. That's kind of a little bit more involved than I was trying to get in this video, but there's the river tactics. So basically, the river is really about finding different spots that produce bass that you can hit on different tides and really hammering down the times of when the tide's working, and then also understanding that sometimes the tide is supposed to be low right now, but if you look at it and the water's still high, like the tide was not able to blow out because the wind's blowing in, that's going to affect what you're doing. I noticed a lot of anglers that come to the river and they fish and they struggle because they're like, it's supposed to be low tide right here. My little rant says low tide right here. And you can clearly look at the water and the water has not dropped at all. It's because the tide has not been able to move the way it needs to move because the wind is blowing. So that means you gotta just go fishing at that point. You gotta throw all that crap out the window, man. You just gotta go fishing and find out where the fish are biting at. So for the finesse techniques, like I said, the other one is weight. And sorry guys, I wanted to do bullet points on this and all that, but I'm just going to give you the juice as I got it. The other thing is the weight size. So if you're throwing a Senko, Texas rig in it, sure, that's fine. Weightless, cool. Sometimes you might need to add a weight. Rate of fall is one of the biggest things you will see. Sometimes they want it to just drop and just have a dust cloud, and then they just eat it up. Sometimes they want it to slowly sink down, and it'll sit, and you don't need to move it. You let the current, the tide, you let it move it, and then you just pick up on it when it starts to take off when the fish is on. You let the current just bring it on down wherever you're going. That's how you get the bites there. So weight size, if you're throwing a Texas rig and you're fishing for like spawning fish on the river, a lot of times you're fan casting, you may not be able to see it. Pitch out, wait till you find like a hole in the grass that you're in, and when you get in there, you're just basically just shaking it, hoping something come pick it up. And if it does, sometimes it's the rate of fall that it gets in there. So sometimes you need an 1/8 ounce weight. Sometimes you might need a 1/16 ounce weight. Sometimes you might, the water's moving, you might need a heavier weight so you can keep your bait still versus just having it just go down with there's little things like that. So weight size can play a role. Adding something different to your finesse presentation can play a role. Line size is going to play a role. Paying attention to the conditions, whether you got the tides ripping, whether it's slack, whether it's coming in, whether it's going out. Those things are all play a vital role in what you need to throw as far as a finesse tactic goes on the river. And like I said, if it's not finesse tactic time, then just throw what you normally would throw. Throw your chatterbait, throw your spinnerbait, throw your crankbait, throw all these things like that. And every technique I just mentioned there, you can also take each and every one of those and finesse it. If you're normally throwing a 3/8 ounce spinnerbait, throw a 1/4 ounce spinnerbait. If you're normally throwing a 1/2 ounce chatterbait, throw a 3/8 ounce chatterbait. Throw a tungsten chatterbait with even smaller head. Do something like, if you're throwing a 1/2 ounce jig, throw a 1/4 ounce jig. Throw a 5/16 ounce jig. If you see what I'm saying, if everything in there can be made into a finesse tactic, especially if you look around and see people getting bit. If they're throwing 5-inch Senkos, throw a 4-inch Senko. Little stuff like that is going to make the difference in whether you get more bites or whether they get all the bites. Those things all play a role. So I hope this video helps. I'm going to take a break now. I'm not going to take a break. I'm signing off because I'm going to let my buddy here, Jason. You guys have seen him on my podcast, man. He's been on I think 2 or 3 with me, man. So shouts out to Jason, man, up there in Ohio doing his thing, man. So huge shouts out to Jason, JR Fishing. I'm gonna link his stuff in the description below. Check it out. But he's gonna give us some tips here on how to catch some finesse tactics on how to catch these river bass for you guys there as well in his part of the world, guys. Remember, I'm in Virginia. Jason's in a different part of the town, so he's going to give you some tips for another part of town that can help, and more than likely our tips are going to line up to where you can use these tips on any river system that you're fishing at. But hopefully this information helps. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you guys love this series. If you do, smash that like button. Also hit that subscribe button, turn on that notification bell. Make sure you don't miss any of my videos going forward, guys, because we are trying to step up the content and we want to be a little bit more consistent with the content. So I'm going to give it to Jason, let him talk to you guys, let him hip you on some game as it comes down to catching these river bass, finesse fishing for these river bass. So Jason, take it away. Let's go.
All right. Hey, what's going on YouTube? Jason here. Talk about some finesse tactics on the river. I deal with a tricky river myself, the Ohio River, fishing out of the Lawrenceburg ramp over in Lawrenceburg, Indiana. Tanner's Creek, there we go. I couldn't think of the creek. It's a tough fishery. Everybody's known about, the 05 Bassmaster Classic, KVD1. Aaron Martins gave him a run for the money, though, but we're not going to get too deep into that. Rest in peace, Aaron. I think Aaron's day just passed as well. So one of the things that we like to throw there on the river is a crankbait, of course, hitting the main trunk of the river. Can't go wrong with it. Got the Rapala, I think this is the OG Tiny 4. Guys at the 4 feet, I believe. 5/16 of an ounce. This is live river shad. It's actually on sale right now at Tackle Warehouse. Really good option to throw behind your boater. Maybe he's flipping a jig, maybe he's pitching a Texas rig, whatever, spinner bait. You always want to throw something different behind your boater. Or even if you are a boater, you can throw this as well. Actually, I picked this up from my boater this year, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. And he was knocking them out in practice. I was fortunate enough to go out with him. He was killing them on the OG Tiny 4. It's fun watching him catch them. I was like, don't catch too many of them. You want to keep some for tomorrow. But anywho, really good option. I think they have a couple colorways on sale right now. If you guys want to go check them out, get you a couple. It's a really good option to throw on the river. Like I said, if you're a boater or if you're non-boater, throwing it, really gonna pick up, clean up bait. You can also throw it in the back of your creeks and channels as well. Like I said, up to 5 feet, really good flat-sided. Like it's silent as well, so really good finesse tactic when you want to kind of have a finessey approach. Another bait I want to talk about, like a spinner bait. So normally you guys would throwing like probably minimum, river fishing like 3/8 of an ounce with maybe a paddle tail trailer. You want to get more fish in the boat as a co-angler. There's nothing wrong with downsizing. I know it's like frowned upon down south, but downsizing will actually generate you more bites. I know right now BFS is blowing up big in the country. I throw BFS. That's an old 18 BFS rod that I used to actually get a top 10 this season in Indian Lake in the BFLs in the Buckeye division. Placed 10th place exactly. Anywho, you want something affordable. You don't want to break the bank. Like I call them throwaways, but they'll get you bites. Like I said, you have a tough fishery. Throw a Booyah Pond Magic. I know that sounds crazy, Pond Magic, right? You wouldn't think to really throw that. Like some of you probably wouldn't be like, get this out of here. I'm not gonna get nothing but bluegill. But I kid you not, man. You throw a 2.8 Kitech right behind it, money. I promise you. Pitch it anywhere, dude. You can't go wrong with white. Got stained water, got muddy conditions. It's got a Colorado and a willow blade on there, so throw it in there, pitch it around, get bit. You can trim this up. If you're getting short strikes, just trim it up a little bit, cut off the head, and problem solved. If you really want to keep this, try to find a good stinger hook to put behind it if you can. Talking Finesse, like I said, you want something compact. And nowadays, if I'm not mistaken, a lot of companies are making compact spinner baits with tungsten. You know, with tungsten, you can get a smaller compact profile with still having a heavy weight. So try to find a company that has compact spinner baits where you can throw a small profile with a heavy weight. So you guys got the option as well. This is just a cheaper, affordable option. I believe these run at $4.99 or $4.49. Cabela's, get a bunch. They're throwaways. You'll get about 2 to 3 fish or so off of them. They're good though. You know what I'm saying? If you don't want to break the bank, again, you just want something quick, pick up, throw a pitch around, you know, you'll get at least, I'd say, 3 fish, if not more. And that's the new limit anyway now for the BFLs and most tournaments. 3 fish limit is how it's going now. So you want something that's going to get you cleaned up real quick. And another thing, drop shot. This is a flick shake. Throw it on the drop shot behind your boater, you'll get bit. A really good bait. Jackal makes them. I believe I was at the Columbus Fishing Expo and got these. I don't know what the colorway is, but I picked them up. They were on sale. Got them. You don't have to throw a flick shake. It's just a really good, it's got a really skinny profile. I don't use an O-ring on these. They're just too tiny. Just, you know, hook it right through the middle in the center right there and you'll get bit. They have different colorways as well. And then another thing, just before we wrap up this session here, just pick this up. We're talking Finesse. So you want to go to medium light power rod. This is extra fast action. This is actually the new St. Croix Black Bass edition. They just dropped it 2024 iCast. I got a Shimano Nasi on there. I think I'm running back with a 10-pound monofilament, and I think I got 10 or 15-pound braid Power Pro with a, I think a 6. Did I go with 6? 8-pound test fluorocarbon leader. So I'm in one of the lighter setup where I just run strictly 6 to 8-pound test line. And but try some of those tactics, see how you guys do, you know, those tricky rivers or just any fishery in general. Like I said, just don't be afraid to throw a couple finesse and really power finesse techniques, especially you guys are big into BFS. I think those couple baits you'll notice a pickup in your limits, and hopefully you guys catch more fish and have a good time out there. Also, then send it back to Ty. You guys take care.
Guys, so that wraps up the tips in today's video. Jason shared some absolute juice with you guys, man. So pretty cool for him to do that. He actually showed you literally some of the stuff that he's fishing and pulled off a top 10 using some of the exact things that he talked to you guys about. So be sure. And he also told you where you can find some of the baits at to check out. So I'll definitely leave some links below to where you guys can pick up some of this stuff to help you land some more bass. But guys, hopefully these tips help some river fishing juice for you guys to get out there and land some fish on the river. Boater, non-boater, co-angler, rider, net man, really doesn't matter. Gave you some tips there to hopefully help you out and help you land some more fish. So thank you guys for tuning into this series, guys. New episodes every Tuesday with some fishing techniques for you guys, and we also have stories every Saturday coming up every Saturday, so you guys get some fishing stories from me, some of this stuff that's going on in my fishing world here. Trust me, it only gets juicier as we go along. And then on the Tuesdays, we got the fishing techniques to share with you guys. So thank you guys for tuning in. Be sure to hit that like button, be sure to subscribe to the channel, share the videos out with your friends. If you find these tips helpful, share the videos out to your friends. Also, be sure to comment if there's something you want to see, something you want us to talk about, a specific technique, or you can feel free to shoot me an email. I got my email in there as well if you got something that you want to see me cover or want to see me go over with you guys. So thank you as always for tuning in. You guys are my Bass and Furious friends. I appreciate each and every one of you. Catch you guys on the next one. Peace, peace. I'm out.